Right now, if you stand on the eastern edge of Slovakia and look across the border, you can almost see the war. The Ukrainian city of Uzhhorod sits just a few miles past the fence line, and in the spring of 2026, Russian drones and missiles came down on it and on the towns around it, close enough that Slovakia shut its border crossings and waited to see what came next. The August before, Russian cruise missiles had already gutted an American-owned factory one region over, well within reach of everything Slovakia calls home. And here's the part that makes this interesting. When Ukraine needed help, Slovakia gave away some of the best weapons it owned. It handed Kyiv its entire fleet of fighter jets. It gave up the only long-range air defense system it had. It sent howitzers, infantry vehicles, and ammunition across that same border, and then it started the long, expensive job of rebuilding an army almost from scratch with Western gear that is still arriving. If that war ever crossed the last few miles into Slovakia, could a small country that emptied its own arsenals to arm its neighbor actually hold the line? This is everything Slovakia would bring to that fight. We begin with tanks. Leopard 2 A4. For years, the Leopard 2 was the tank nobody could touch, the pride of European armor, sold on the idea that it simply did not burn the way Russian tanks did. Then it went to Syria. In the winter of 2016, Turkish crews took their Leopard 2 A4s into the fight for a town called Albal, and the Islamic State filmed the result. One tank after another, gutted by guided missiles and bombs that were never supposed to get through. Close to a dozen were wrecked in a matter of weeks. The lesson was not that the Leopard is a bad tank. The lesson is that no tank is safe when it fights alone, without infantry, without cover, sitting still where the enemy has time to aim. It is still one of the finest tanks ever built. Syria just proved it is not magic. T-72. Everybody has seen what this tank does when it dies. Somewhere in Ukraine, a T-72 takes a hit, there is a pause, and then the whole turret lifts off the hull and cartwheels into the air like a bottle cap. Because the autoloader stores its shells in a ring right under the crew, and when fire reaches them, they all go off at once. Gunners call it the jack-in-the-box. The crew never gets out. It is a savage flaw in a tank that has otherwise fought on every continent and armed more armies than almost anything on tracks, and it is the machine Slovakia has spent years trying to replace and still has not finished replacing. That brings us to the fighting vehicles and personnel carriers. CV-90. Sweden built this vehicle for a very specific nightmare. The idea of Russian armor pouring through the forests and snow of the far north, and it shows in every line of it. When Sweden and its friends began sending these to Ukraine, the crews who received them were blunt about it. They said it felt like climbing out of a tin can and into something that actually wanted them to live. Ukrainian soldiers have driven CV-90s straight into fire, taken hits that would have killed the men inside an old Soviet carrier, and walked away from the wreck. It is the vehicle Slovakia has chosen to carry its infantry into the next war, and the first of them are only now coming off the line. Patria. Finland designed this 8-wheeled machine to do one thing above all: to move fast and bring the men inside back alive from the weapon that kills more soldiers than any rifle, the bomb buried under the road. Poland took the same vehicle into Afghanistan under the name Rosomak and drove it down roads that tore lighter trucks apart. And the V-shaped belly did its job, throwing the blast of a mine out and away instead of up through the floor. The crews inside walked away from explosions that would have been a funeral in anything softer. BVP. The first version of this vehicle went to war in Afghanistan with a gun that could barely point uphill, which was a real problem when the men trying to kill you were dug into ridgelines above the road. So the Soviets tore off the old turret and bolted on a rapid-firing 30mm cannon that could finally elevate, reach up the mountain, and put rounds where they were needed. That is the BVP-2. It hauls a squad of infantry to the fight and then fights beside them when it arrives. And it has been standing in the line while everyone waits for the new machines to show up. Next up is the engineering and support vehicles. MT-55A. An army moving to the front runs into rivers, canals, and blown craters, and every one of them can stop a column of tanks cold until somebody lays down a way across. This is that somebody. Built on an old tank chassis with the turret stripped off, it carries a folded steel bridge on its back, drives to the edge of the gap, and unfolds a span long enough to carry a main battle tank across in a matter of minutes, all while the crew stays buttoned up under armor. It is quiet, thankless work. It is also the difference between an advance that keeps rolling and one that piles up on the near bank and gets shelled to pieces. Bojana. Some of the machines in this arsenal are built to kill. This one is built to keep people from getting killed after the shooting stops. Bojena is a Slovak invention, a low, remote-controlled machine that rolls into a minefield with a spinning flail out front and beats the ground until the mines blow so that no man has to walk that dirt with a probe and a prayer. Slovak-built Bojenas have cleared old battlefields in the Balkans, in Iraq, in country after country where the war ended but the buried explosives stayed behind, waiting for a farmer or a kid. It is one of the few things a nation makes that you actually hope never has to be used, and then are very glad exists when it does. Tatra 815. Underneath this truck is one of the strangest and most stubborn ideas in heavy machinery. A single central tube running the length of the chassis with the axles hung off it so each wheel can climb and drop on its own. It means a Tatra can crawl over broken ground that would snap the frame of a normal truck in half, which is why these things haul guns, fuel, and troops up mountain tracks that look impassable, and why a stripped-down racing version has won the Dakar Rally through the Sahara more times than anyone can easily count. It is Czechoslovak engineering at its most bloody-minded, and it is under a huge share of everything the army moves. Moving on to artillery. Zuzana. Here's the one Slovakia is proudest of, and with good reason. Zuzana 2 is a full 155mm howitzer mounted on the back of a wheeled truck, designed to roll up, drop its spade, throw a stack of shells clean over the horizon, and be gone down the road before the enemy can trace where the rounds came from. It is Slovak designed and Slovak built, and it did not stay home. When the war started next door, Slovakia sent these guns across the border into Ukrainian hands, and they went straight into the worst artillery duels on the continent and held their own against Russian iron. A gun, a small country designed for itself, is out there, right now, trading fire on the biggest battlefield in Europe. Not many countries this size can say that. RM-70. The scream came first. The rockets the Soviets built to break the German army rolled forward as a wall of noise and fire, and the West spent the whole Cold War building answers to them. This is the Czechoslovak take on that idea. A bank of tubes on a heavy truck that empties a full load of rockets across a grid square in seconds, saturating everything inside it, then reloads from a second rack. It carries on its own back so it never has to run away empty. Cheap, loud, and merciless, it does the one job that has not changed since the Katyusha, making a patch of ground impossible to stand on. Mortars. The mortar is the weapon of the man you cannot see. A tube, a base plate, and a shell drop down the barrel, and it lobs that shell in a high arc over the wall or the ridge to land on the enemy who thinks he is safe behind cover. Every infantry company has them, from the light tube 2 soldiers can carry to the heavier ones that ride in a vehicle. And in the close grinding fights, the siege of a town, the defense of a tree line, indirect mortar fire has killed more soldiers across history than almost anything else in this entire arsenal. It is old, it is simple, and nothing has ever made it obsolete. That brings us to air defense. Kyiv. In June of 1995, an American F-16 was flying a patrol over Bosnia when one of these old Soviet missile systems, hidden and patient, fired without warning and blew the jet in half. The pilot, Captain Scott O'Grady, punched out into hostile country and spent 6 days hiding in the woods, eating grass and insects, and licking rainwater off his gloves, dodging the patrols, hunting him, until a Marine rescue force came in low at dawn and pulled him out. That is what the Cub can still do to an aircraft that gets careless. The hard part for Slovakia is that most of its Cubs are long past their expiry now, held together with luck. And until the new systems are fully in place, this tired old missile is a large part of what the country has to shoot back with. Barak MX. While the old Soviet missiles wind down, this is what is coming in to replace them. Barak MX is an Israeli system, and Israel does not sell air defense on a glossy brochure. It sells it on a record, built in a country that has spent decades under rocket and missile fire, and has learned to knock those threats out of the sky the hard way. It layers different interceptors to handle everything from a low, slow drone to a ballistic missile screaming down from the edge of space. The first Slovak battery has only just arrived, and the underground magazines to hold its missiles are still being dug, but when it is fully standing, it will be the first genuinely modern air defense the country has had in a generation. Mantis. Not every threat comes in high and fast. Some of it comes in cheap and slow and in swarms. The mortar bombs and the little drones that the wars of the last few years have made the constant background of death. Mantis is the answer to that. A cluster of German 35mm cannons wired to a radar that spots an incoming round or a drone, tracks it, and throws up a curtain of shredding fire to tear it apart in the air before it reaches anyone. A pair of these guards, the sights Slovakia cannot afford to lose. And in the age of the cheap drone dropping a grenade, a gun that can simply erase them in mid-flight has quietly become one of the most important tools on the field. Man-pads. One soldier, one tube on the shoulder, and suddenly the sky over a battlefield is no longer safe for anything flying low. The shoulder-fired missile has been humbling expensive aircraft for 50 years. And the newest proof is right across the border, where Polish Pioruns, the same missile Slovakia is now buying, have been knocking Russian helicopters and cruise missiles out of the air over Ukraine with a hit rate that surprised even the people who built them. It will not touch a high-flying jet, but it means no gunship pilot, no drone operator, no low-flying attacker can ever assume the man on the ground is helpless. Next up are the aircraft, F-16. On the morning of the 11th of September 2001, a young Air National Guard pilot named Heather Penny scrambled out of Andrews in an F-16 with no missiles and no bullets loaded, because there had been no time to arm the jets. Her orders were to find United Airlines Flight 93 and bring it down before it reached Washington. And with an empty gun, the only way to do that was to fly her own aircraft into it, a straight trade of her life for the people on the ground. She went looking for that airliner, fully expecting it to be the last thing she ever did. She never had to make the trade, because the passengers on Flight 93 had already fought back and forced the plane into a Pennsylvania field. That is, the aircraft Slovakia now flies as the guardian of its own skies, the newest and most capable fighting falcon anyone has ever built. Finally, standing in for the Soviet jets the country gave away. Spartan. Every Air Force needs the plane that flies into the rough places, the short dirt strips, and the forward bases the big jets cannot touch, and hauls in the ammunition, the food, and the wounded on the way back out. The Spartan is that plane, built to share the engines and the cockpit of the mighty C-130 Hercules, but in a smaller body, which earned it the nickname the Baby Herc. It can drop onto a strip that would wreck a larger transport, back itself up under its own power, and get out again fast. It never wins the headlines, but an army that cannot move its supplies is an army that loses. And this is one of the planes that keeps things moving. Turbolet. Made just up the road in the old Czechoslovak aircraft works, the little Turbolet became one of the most widespread light transports the Eastern Bloc ever turned out. A tough twin-engine prop plane that could work off a grass field in the middle of nowhere and keep flying in weather that grounded fancier machines. You will find them hauling people and cargo from Siberia to Africa to South America in air forces and bush operations all over the map. Slovakia flies a handful for the short hops, the parachute jumps, and the odd jobs. A modest plane doing honest work. Black Hawk. On the 3rd of October, 1993, in the streets of Mogadishu, a Somali fighter fired a rocket-propelled grenade into the tail of a hovering American Black Hawk called Super 6-1, and it came down hard into the city. A second Black Hawk was shot down soon after, and what was meant to be a raid of about an hour turned into a desperate overnight fight to reach the cruise and hold the crash sites, a battle that burned itself into a book and a film the whole world knows. The helicopter carried its name into legend that day. Slovakia is bringing the same American machine into service, now to replace its aging Soviet helicopters, the same airframe that has carried soldiers into and out of every kind of hell for 40 years. Mi-17. The helicopter Slovakia is retiring is also, by sheer numbers, one of the most successful ever flown, a Soviet design so rugged and so simple that more of them have been built than almost any other helicopter in history. Here is the strange part. When the United States needed helicopters for the Afghan Air Force it was building, it did not hand the Afghans American machines. It went out and bought Russian Mi-17s, because the Afghans already knew how to fly and fix them, and because the thing starts and runs in dust and heat and altitude that chokes more delicate aircraft. Slovakia has leaned on these for decades, and it is finally handing the job over to the Black Hawks. And finally, small arms, Q-1. Before Slovakia armed its soldiers with a homegrown rifle, it made its name in pistols. A small Slovak company called Grand Power built a handgun with an unusual rotating barrel that soaked up recoil and snapped shots back onto target fast, and it quietly earned a following among shooters around the world who cared more about how a pistol ran than where it was stamped. Now that same company makes the sidearm going onto the belt of the Slovak soldier, replacing the little Cold War pistol the army carried for 40 years. It is a rare thing for a country this size to arm itself with its own gun instead of somebody else's. VZ-58. Look at this rifle quickly and you will swear it is an AK-47, and you will be wrong. The Czechoslovaks built the VZ-58 to shoot the same ammunition and stand on the same battlefield as the Kalashnikov, while sharing almost no parts with it at all. A completely different action, hidden inside a familiar shape, machined rather than stamped. By many accounts, a finer piece of work than the rifle it gets mistaken for. It armed the Czechoslovak soldier through the entire Cold War and stayed in Slovak hands long after the country split in two. Even now, with a new rifle coming in to replace it, you will still find the old VZ slung over shoulders across the force. M4M. Same little company, now the rifle too. This is the weapon meant to finally retire the old Soviet pattern guns and put a modern Slovak-made rifle in every pair of hands in the army, chambered in the standard NATO round, built to the shape and the controls that soldiers across the alliance already know. There is no war story here yet, because it is brand new. The story is the decision behind it. A country that spent decades carrying other people's weapons, choosing to design and build its own, and to cut the last cords tying its infantry to the arsenals of a bloc that no longer exists. M2 Browning. John Browning designed this machine gun before the end of the First World War, and more than 100 years later, his design is still bolted to vehicles and tripods in nearly every army on Earth, firing the same enormous 50 caliber round through the same basic mechanism. Troops call it Ma Deuce, and they trust it the way you trust something that has simply never stopped working. In Vietnam, a Marine sniper named Carlos Hathcock mounted a telescopic sight on one of these and made a kill at a range past a mile that stood as a record for decades, proving the old gun could reach out and touch a man most rifles could not even see. It is heavy, it is loud, and there is nothing in the world quite like being on the wrong end of it. Carl Gustaf. Sweden gave the world a shoulder-fired tube that has outlived almost everything it was ever built to fight. The Carl Gustaf is a recoilless gun, a reusable launcher one soldier can carry and reload, and it will fire just about anything you feed it. Armor-piercing rounds to crack a tank, high explosive for a bunker, smoke, even a round to light up the night. Soldiers nicknamed it the Goose, and American troops who spent years lugging heavier and more limited weapons fell so hard for it that it is now standard across the United States military too. Slovakia was one of the very first countries in the world to sign up for the newest model, a light, modern version of a weapon that has been solving infantry problems since the 1940s. Dragunov. Before this rifle, a squad's reach ended wherever the ordinary soldier's aim gave out. The Soviets changed that with the Dragunov, a long, elegant rifle handed to one pick shooter in the squad whose whole job was to reach out past everyone else and drop the enemy officer, the machine gunner, the radio man, before the fight even got close. It created a role every modern army went on to copy: the designated marksman, the patient man watching through glass while everyone else watches the near ground. From the mountains of Afghanistan to the wrecked apartment blocks of Chechnya, the Dragunov taught a hard lesson about the value of one good shooter with the range to end an argument early. Spike. The last weapon on this list is the one a Russian tank crew should fear the most. Spike is an Israeli-guided missile that a small team carries, sets up, and fires. And once it is away, the gunner does not have to sit there steering it into the target with his own life on the line. It locks on and flies itself. And it can even climb up and over to drop onto the thin roof of a tank where the armor is weakest, turning two men hidden in a tree line into the end of a 50-ton machine and everyone in it. For a country worried about armor rolling across its border, that is exactly the kind of weapon that makes an attacker slow down and think twice about the last few miles.